by Laurie Stewart. In the spirit of community and sense of purpose, let us commence on the discovery of our strengths, our concerns, our grief, and our joy. Let this journey be one of authenticity and reverence. Let us shape our lives, our work, and our days as an expression of that and of our commitment to service. Amen.
Amen. And now the pledge.
Pledge allegiance.
So Clerk Christensen, if you could note the roll.
Supervisors Ekman and Horace are excused. I'm not certain of Supervisor Coleman, and everyone else is in the chambers.
Thank you. So item number 4 is public comment pursuant to section 2-71 of the Racine County Code of Ordinances. Each speaker shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. Vice Chairman Meyer will be the timekeeper, and he'll give you a 30-second notice and a 15-second notice. So the first up is Nate Kaufman. Come up and give your name and address. It's talking about the RCIC.
Good evening. My name is Nat Kaufman and I live at 1811 Dartmoor Drive in Mount Pleasant. And I have the privilege of being the president of the Prairie School. It's good to see so many familiar faces here tonight. And I am speaking on behalf of the Racine County Ice Center proposal. In our community right now, we have a crisis of connectedness and loneliness and obesity. And we need to build places to connect with each other and to exercise. And considering our long, cold winters, an ice rink will help us build a stronger, more resilient, and healthy community. Most mid-sized communities throughout Wisconsin and the Midwest have rinks, and they are better for it. If our goal is to make Racine a better place to live, work, and raise a family, then I hope that you will all tonight vote to move forward the Racine County Ice Center project. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Rick Gray, speaking on the ice arena. Name and address, please, Rick.
My name is Rich Gray, South 80 West 17307 Haven Drive. And I am here also speaking about the ice rink. Bring a little different perspective, I hope. I'm the past president of Shaw Hockey on the south side of Milwaukee for 4 years. I was also a member of the Wisconsin Amateur Hockey Association Board for the state of Wisconsin for 2.5 years. For health concerns, forced my resignation. I also have been a part of launching a ice program for disabled children, both mentally and physically challenged, at Wilson Ice Arena. It brought many children into the love of hockey, partnering them up with able-bodied players at the same time to help them grow. That program is now reaching and traveling to several tournaments a year throughout the Midwest. I've also worked with DEI programs to bring in not just minorities, but economically challenged families, set up programs to help bring hockey to all, including partnerships with various businesses in the Milwaukee County area. I've also worked on fundraising to help make that more of a possibility with individual corporations. I just think that it's very important to keep in mind that hockey and ice arenas are for everybody, from children to adults to disabled to economically disadvantaged kids. If there's a will, there's a way to bring it to all. And I'm here to help in any way I can. Hopefully you pass this referendum, but resolution to help build a new ice rink for Racine kids so they can enjoy this great sport. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Schlack. Bill Schlack. Shaw.
Bill Shaw,
Oh, okay.
4700 Lighthouse Drive. My name is Bill Shaw, and the Ice Center is one of the finest quality of life ideas I have since moving back here from Washington DC in 1986. I live in Wind Point and also own property in Burlington. My family lived in Racine for almost 100 years, and my wife Barbara and I love Racine. And the beauty of this is it's going to be a county-wide ice rink for everybody. My views on the arena are based on my experience as a state prosecutor, 9 years on the Racine board, school board, 4 as president, 3 as vice president, 8 years as a trustee and president of Wind Point, 20-year Navy veteran, retired as a commander with 250 combat missions in Vietnam, high school and college athletics, and a lot of other stuff. My views on the ice arena: I think it provides healthy exercise for the entire community, both adults and children. It would be a safe and healthy place for teens to gather. I don't know where they gather now. When I was a kid, it was a pizza parlor in Chicago. It's a building, build up teams and sports competition. It's a positive amenity for the community that can draw people to Racine to live and work here. It's a positive public relations amenity that would bring publicity to the Racine area, and that means a lot. It's a positive connections. It would provide connections with other ice arenas such as in Kenosha, Milwaukee, and expand participation in our community. And lastly, it's a source of pride, and we all need pride and welcome pride in our community. It's for all these reasons and more that I strongly urge you to approve this wonderful addition for our wonderful community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Daniel Branley.
My name is Danielle Branley. I live at 5304 Santa Anita Drive, Caledonia. I am a recent resident of this area. We've only been here since 2013. I grew up in a community of 1,500 that supported its own ice arena for over 50 years. It's now the Hockey Hall of Fame up in Eagle River in Vilas County. I'm a mom and a retired teacher, and more recently a sailor. I took some sailing lessons at the Racine Yacht Club. And my captain, Charlie Manning, kept saying 2 words to us: social currency. So what social currency is investment in a way that doesn't include money. It's time. I understand the economic concerns of this project very well. I am here to tell you that you have an untapped resource. If you build this dome, you will have an army of volunteers, parents. They could invest social currency by working for free, concessions, cleaning the stands, grounds, locker rooms, in addition to their ice fee and lessons fees. Many might own businesses that would volunteer their services. This becomes a family tradition, as it did up north where I grew up. It's generational. And it's good for the kids. Busy kids are happy kids. And I think it's really important to remember about how important it is to invest the social currency in our kids. The RCIC will not just be an ice arena, it will be a community center of members with a vested interest in keeping the sports it fosters alive and growing. The legacy that you will give as board members, that you will leave historically, will be this community center that is more than an economic asset. You will be opening up these sports to minority groups in this area who may have never had the chance or opportunity to learn to play ice sports. The Dome can do other events that can be lucrative. You can open it up for things like sports shows, concerts, flea markets, and auctions. The Dome will give vendors another venue which enhances its economic value, but I want to continue to stress the social currency. This can mean scholarships. It can mean pro athletics. We turned out quite a few scholarships and pro athletes up in our little town. Think of what this community could do with the number of people you have in comparison. Anyway, that's what I think. I really hope that you will vote yes and give that consideration to the social currency I spoke about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And next up is Mark Hertzberg.
Good evening. The ice skating arena project has received broad public support. Our Racine County Ice Center capital fundraising campaign has reached $8.3 million, which is ready to be transferred to Racine County for use in design and construction costs. We've recently received a pledge for an additional $500,000 to cover startup costs. This is truly an effective public-private partnership. Beyond the nuts and bolts of the project, which are already familiar to you, this is about something more important than a new building or bricks and mortar. It is about an exciting and vital new recreational facility to enhance our community and help it grow in many ways. The project began in 2019 when Mike Frontier and Dave Ives, two of our board members, met with Jonathan Delagrave to discuss their vision for an ice arena in Racine County. Soon after, Jonathan organized a trip to see the ice skating arena in Beloit. Now, after 5 years, tonight we are at a crossroads. Tonight's vote will determine whether the project moves forward or whether our RCIC organization has to begin the process of returning the $8.8 million in donations and pledges to our generous donors. We're confident we'll be able to continue our partnership with you, and it is a partnership. Thank you for your consideration of this proposal.
Thank you. Are there any other visitors' comments out there? All right. Seeing none, we're going to go on to item number 5. Reading of the minutes of the previous meeting, which is automatically waived unless requested by a majority of the members present. Okay, seeing none. Item number 6, resolutions and ordinances referred to committee.
There are none.
Item number 7, introduction of resolutions and ordinances for first reading and referral.
Resolution number 2024-35 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the reclassification of 2 FTE N060 accounting technician to 2 FTE N076 accounting associate and 1 FTE E030 finance specialist to 1 FTE E040 staff accountant effective August 24th, 2024, and transfer of $1,872 within the Human Services Department 2024 budget. Resolution number 2024-36 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the project to update the Racine County Housing Analysis and transfer of $7,500 within the County Executive 2024 budget. Resolution number 2024-37 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the creation of 1 FTE Lead Youth and Family Case Manager N126 effective October 5th, 2024, and transfer of $24,190 within the 2024 Human Service Department budget. Resolution number 2024-38 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the reclassification of 1 FTE Safety and Security Supervisor E060 to 1 FTE Deputy Superintendent E065. Reclassification of 1 FTE Youth Programming Supervisor E060 to 1 FTE Youth Program Manager E065. Reclassification of 1 FTE Youth Program Coordinator N125 to 1 FTE Lead Youth Program Coordinator N126. Reclassification of 6 FTE Safety and Security Coordinators from pay grade N123 to N125. Creation of 3 FTE Safety and Security Workers N120. Reclassification of 2 FTE Youth Mental Health Counselors from pay grade N125 to BE20 and BE30. Creation of 1 FTE Facilities Custodian N095. Change in the start date of 2 youth program coordinators from November 1st, 2024 to October 5th, 2024, and use of sufficient funds in the 2024 Human Services budget. Ordinance number 2024-39 by Economic Development and Land Use Planning Committee to rezone from R2 Suburban Residential District Unsewered to A2 General Farming and Residential District 2, Section 13, Town 4 North, Range 19 East, Town of Waterford, applicant Lee Robinson Jr. Ordinance number 2024-40 by Economic Development and Land Use Planning Committee to amend the Town of Waterford land use map of the multi-jurisdictional comprehensive plan for Racine County 2035 as it pertains to parcel ID number 016-041-913-095-020. And ordinance number 2024-41 by Economic Development and Land Use Planning Committee creating section 20-1801 of the Racine County Code of Ordinances, establishing a moratorium on the consideration and/or issuance of zoning permits, conditional use and/or site plan review zoning approvals for solar energy systems. And I will also note for the record that resolution number 2024-38 has an updated copy with a correction to the title and the body of the document, and the supervisors have that on their desks.
Thank you. Next up, item number 8, communications and claims.
Number 1, 2023 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report from the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District. Number 2, letter regarding the Racine County Western Feed Project from ATC. Number 3, notice of application for construction of the Oak Creek CT project PSC reference number 505447 from the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin. And number 4, notice of application to construct and place into operation the Western Feed Transmission Line project from the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin.
Items number 1 through 4 are referred to the Economic Development and Land Use Planning Committee.
And then the other items, number 4 is a foreclosure of mortgage, which is a claim. And numbers 6 through 23 are all notifications from the United States Bankruptcy Court.
So items number 5 through 23 are referred to Finance and Human Resources Committee and Corporation Council.
Does any supervisor want copies? Supervisor Wishaw.
Copies of 2, 3, and 4, please.
Any other? I would like 3 and 4. Item number 10, standing committee reports containing recommendations on items referred.
There are no items, but I believe, Mr. Chairman, that there was going to be some presentation for item number 9.
Communications from the county executive.
Correct. That Corporation Council.
Good evening. On behalf of the Cabinet and the Executive Branch of Racine County Government, Michael and I would like to take just a couple minutes to provide a uniting message from our leadership team. As you're all aware, Jonathan's ability to coalesce a team to achieve ambitious goals is really unparalleled. He was relentless in his commitment to empowering the community with information and also receiving feedback from the people he served. The Constituents Corner and the Racine Compass was one of the mechanisms he used to achieve this. This month's Constituents Corner will appropriately be dedicated to Jonathan's bold visions and how the work of both his work family and his actual family rallied behind this passion. His children, McGuire and Mackenzie, are the most beautiful extension of Jonathan's character and commitment to our county. And the outpouring of support of the staff attending County Board tonight are all demonstrations of this enduring legacy that he has left us. And just as parting words from me before I turn it over to Michael, I believe together as a team is how we're going to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Hope, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to take a moment, again, on behalf of the Office of the County Executive and more so on behalf of the Executive Cabinet that Jonathan assembled to recognize in particular Vice Chair Meyer, Tom Roanhouse, Don Trottier, and in particular Chairman Kramer. Each of these individuals have stepped up, they've listened to, they've checked in on, they've collaborated with and shown unwavering support for staff during a tremendously difficult time. Now, if you'll indulge me, just a brief story and hopefully a rally moving forward. Early in his first term, I shared a book with Jonathan, and it was a collection of speeches from Václav Havel, who is the former president of Czechoslovakia and later the Czech Republic, and who began his political career as, of all things, a poet and a playwright. Speaking about Havel, when he passed away years ago, a friend of his said, and I quote, "He was the man who was able to stage this miracle play. The sacrifice was to cast himself in the main role." Now, like Václav Havel, Jonathan didn't start out as a politician. And seeing in the audience this evening so many cabinet members, so many staff, leaders, coworkers, I'm reminded that what made Jonathan so beloved went well beyond his vision. What made him beloved is that he was at his core one of us, somebody who just wanted to do important work and he wanted to see important work done well. Being a politician wasn't Jonathan's inherent nature and it never defined him. It was a sacrifice that he was willing to make. It was a sacrifice he made when he decided to run, when he was called upon to run, when he decided to run for a second and third term. It was a sacrifice he made each day when he agonized over how to improve and cast a wider net for mental health services in the community, how to improve the juvenile justice system, how to ensure that we could keep quality staff like the people who are in the room here tonight. That everyone, from members of his cabinet to snowplow drivers to custodial staff to jail and detention workers, all felt valued. I suspect that's why there are so many people from the county who are in the audience this evening. And more than anything, we know that Jonathan sacrificed to ensure the county had sufficient resources. And he spent the better part of this past year setting the stage and readying all of us for action on alternative revenue. Now, since Jonathan's passing, I've gone back and I've looked at some of his very early speeches, his budget addresses, his State of the County addresses. And I noticed that in his 2016 State of the County address, 8 years ago, he recited the following quote from Václav Havel. It said, "Vision is not enough. It must be combined with venture. It is not enough to stare up the steps. We must step up the stairs." Now, looking ahead as the board considers important capital projects tonight, as the interim county executive is appointed this evening, and then when the next county executive takes office after the special election later this year, remember, Jonathan's vision alone isn't enough. It must be combined with venture, with action. It's not enough to recognize the challenges ahead. We must step up the stairs and act together. Thank you. I believe there's some pictures that we wanted to show everybody, and these will be in the constituents corner as well. John is bringing that up. Just to set the stage for this, the Youth Development Care Center, obviously one of many passion projects for Jonathan. In May, we had an event that's typical in large construction projects where you sign the final beam of steel that's erected. And so Jonathan and cabinet members and others who've been involved in the project, including some board supervisors, leadership, all signed this piece of steel that was erected. And just last week, his children were invited on site, and I'm happy to say that they were able to not only see the progress of this important facility, but also were able to sign their names next to their fathers. And so what you see here is them on site, and we'll go through and see some of the pictures. Thank you.
All right, number 10, standing committee reports containing recommendations on items referred.
There are no items.
Second reading of resolutions and ordinances.
Under majority vote, we have resolution number 2024-34 by Executive Committee authorizing Racine County to enter into the settlement agreement with the Kroger Company and agree to the terms of Addendum 2 to the MOU allocating settlement proceeds.
Vice Chairman Meyer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a similar resolution that we've done in the past in regards to opioid settlements. And I think corporate counsel will be able to walk us through this on the memorandum of understanding and where we're heading from here. Thank you.
Supervisor Secure. Motion's been made and second.
I'm going to call to the microphone our Principal Assistant Corporation Counsel, Sturtevant. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and honorable members of the board. As you may recall, we have been before the executive committee and the board for many years regarding the opioid issues. Back in, I believe, 2019 is when we were first before the board to approve our ability to enter into legal action. It took a number of years for us to recover what it essentially was billions of dollars from various manufacturers, distributors, and pharmacies. Then the most recent issue before the committee and now the board has been the ability for us to enter into the most recent settlement with Kroger, which is another one of the pharmacies that have been involved in the distribution of the opioids. And is for a $1.2 billion settlement over an 11-year period. It is basically very similar or nearly identical to the settlements that we would have entered previously with the prior pharmacies like Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, and some of the other distributors and manufacturers. Again, the resolution that you would have had before you and the addendum, again, is generally just mirrors those previous settlement acceptances. And so, again, the allocations for the county will continue to be the same, although we still don't have any final numbers as to what dollars we can expect, from that ultimate settlement. And that will all be forthcoming once the settlement is approved. So it's hopefully a brief summary of the ordinance and the addendum you have before you to take any questions or issues you may have.
Any questions? Motion's been made and seconded. This is a majority voice vote. All in favor by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Now the items under 2/3 majority vote, that would be resolution number 2024-23 by Finance and Human Resources Committee and Executive Committee authorizing implementation of a cost-effective, highly reliable, countywide interoperable public safety radio system 911 radio infrastructure and authorizing $23 million in funding for the radio system, backhaul network, dispatch consoles, subscriber units, site capital improvements, and professional services. Resolution number 2024-24 by Finance and Human Resources Committee and Executive Committee authorizing the design and construction of a new Racine County Public Safety building and authorizing funding for the same in an amount not to exceed $40 million. Resolution number 2024-25 by Finance and Human Resources Committee and Executive Committee authorizing the design and construction of the mental health building at 1720 Taylor Avenue, Racine, Wisconsin 53403, and authorizing an additional $23 million in funding for the design and construction of the mental health building and renovations at the Dennis Cornwolf Service Center, 1717 Taylor Avenue, Racine, Wisconsin 53403. Resolution number 2024-26 by Finance and Human Resources Committee and Executive Committee authorizing the revitalization of Reef Point Marina and authorizing $32,500,000 in funding for design and construction of Reef Point Marina revitalization. And resolution number 2024-27 by Finance and Human Resources Committee and Executive Committee authorizing $5 million in funding for the design and construction of an indoor community ice arena facility.
Move for adoption, Mr. Chairman, by separate consideration for item 20427, resolution, separate.
All right, separate consideration for 2024-27.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'd like to give special consideration to 2024, 23, 24, 25, and 26 also, and request a roll call vote when we do.
All right, separate consideration for all of the issues here. We will take them one at a time. Supervisor Trottier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am gonna, first of all, bring up Resolution 2024-23. I am gonna call on our Director of Finance, Gwen Zimmer, to walk us through this.
Thank you. 2024-23 is the authorization of the 911 radio infrastructure project. As this body was updated at the two meetings in June, this project is absolutely necessary for the vitality of our community. We are extremely past due on updating the radio infrastructure system. This has been talked about for years and years. We did go for an RFP earlier this year. We have a vendor selected. We're in contract negotiations right now. The $23 million that we're seeking authorization for is for the total amount of the project. Excuse me. It would be for the technology upgrade itself, the infrastructure, the radio equipment, and any site improvements that would need to be done at any of the radio towers or any of the areas where in the county this project would affect. We also have the Chief Deputy Weiner and deputies here. Also 911 Director Jackie here for any other specific questions.
Are there any questions? Supervisor Caprellian.
Thank you. Sorry. One very general question in regards to what we're voting on, not only for this item, but the next items here. As we're authorizing this high amount of funding, if we can just speak on what that means for the process of information getting back to the board. Is it once we have now authorized it, do we have any other say in any other process till this comes to full fruition?
I can speak specifically about the bonding that's tied with it and would be a later vote. That's a 3/4 vote. We also have our financial advisor here who can speak on that. I would need to come back to the Finance and Human Resources Committee to update on the sale of those bonds. So I would inform you of what the interest rates were and how that sale on the market worked. I guess I'll defer to Corporation Counsel on the rest.
I think that one other thing that the county board could reasonably expect is that, and I'll just address specifically this resolution that we're on right now with the public safety infrastructure, is certainly upon the completion of those negotiations that Gwen mentioned and upon entry into an agreement with the entity that had been selected, that would be an opportunity time or opportune time for a really comprehensive update of what's included in that design proposal. And what the plan actually entails, both in terms of equipment, but also in terms of the infrastructure itself that would be included in that. And then similar to what we've had with the YDCC, I mean, this is a very significant project with perhaps even more far-reaching implications for the community. So we would owe it not only to the board, but to the community to have frequent updates on the status of that and moving forward.
I really appreciate that. You were getting at where I was going to lead into it, being at that first item that we're talking about, the resolution 2024-23, being that this is a countywide public safety radio system. You know, maybe this would be a good time to have just an overview on how this does affect the other municipalities and possibly, you know, if we can speak to what their buy-in or cost commitment is, not only with the counties, but how are they also part of this?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Widener. I'm the Chief Deputy with the Racine County Sheriff's Office. So this project, as it pertains specifically to the radio system, has been in progress for approximately the last 2 years. Over that time span, there has been multiple meetings with the heads of municipalities throughout the entire county, as well as the core users of the system. We did retain a third-party engineering firm to assist us with evaluating the system and evaluating the needs of the community. And along with that came multiple listening sessions where all the first responders, fire, EMS, law enforcement, as well as our peripheral users such as DPW, public transit, public health, had opportunities to meet directly with the engineering firm to help guide those conversations and identify what the needs for the new system would truly be. So this really has been a series of meetings that has spanned over the last 2 years with all of the core users and representatives from those organizations so that they could be heard directly. And those needs were then translated into our RFP that was created and put out to overall assessment by the communications entities that then provided proposals to us. So it definitely has been a collaborative venture moving forward, or it has been this last year, as well as it will be moving forward. As far as we could continue down the line, there will be continued communication as we've assured all of our partners in the first responder area, as well as our peripheral users. We will continue to have quarterly update meetings with all of them so that they understand as the progress moves forward, as well as creating an implementation and training team with representatives from both East and West End users that would then be involved as we actually develop, design, and implement the new radio system to ensure seamless rollout once the system is complete.
Just in response to that, and then I'm done.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that information. And just one more final ask would be, even though there has been meetings over a long duration of time, would you say that there is general consensus by everyone that this is going to meet the needs of the users?
Yes, I do. I feel that there is a very large amount of consensus surrounding from all of the users that this will meet the needs not only now, but moving forward into the future.
Thank you. And then the last thing is timing.
So we are currently in negotiations with the vendor that was selected. As obviously tonight is a decision point, but as we move forward as on this track, we would anticipate completing those negotiations and executing the contract again, and then moving into design phase. We would be looking at again approximately right now an estimate at between I would say 18 and 24 months for implementation time.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the long-standing efforts to bring this to fruition, and I'm fully supportive of this. But for, let's say, any of our constituents who may have a question, could you, either you or Jackie, mention 1 or 2 features or functions that will be new and enhanced when this is completed?
There's multiple features. The entire system will be brand new. This is a massive upgrade to the existing system. Our system is beyond end of life. It is at a point of catastrophic failure. And moving to this, we are moving to a completely new bandwidth of a radio system that is purpose-built for first responders, and really the level of security and reliability moving forward. It's going to increase the capacity that all of our users have from a use standpoint, from available talk groups. So as we would refer to channels just in the past, they're now referred to as talk groups, but there would be exponentially more so that, and we can work with each municipality, that is the plan throughout this training implementation group, to really start to carve out and help create some of the policies and how we design, how we develop and implement the overall system. There is a 911 subcommittee that all key stakeholders are a part of, and we will continue to work through them from a communication standpoint, as well as hearing any concerns or issues and being able to address them moving forward.
I would just add greater responder safety, being able to tell exactly where they are and being able to keep them safe. And just from a reliability standpoint, like Jim mentioned, we already are at a catastrophic failure. So just being able to have parts and someone who knows the system is crucial.
Supervisor Caprellian.
I apologize. I just thought of one more thing. Being that we are authorizing this high amount of money, do you foresee after that period when it's paid up and the system is in place ourselves or the users having monthly service fees or usage fees that have they talked about that when rolling this out?
So yes, this system will differ from our past system, partially because it is largely a very large computer server that requires maintenance and upgrades over time. There will be fees associated with the utilization of the system. Exactly how that will interplay with each of the municipalities, there has not been final decisions on, but it has been discussion points at the meetings that we've had of the user groups, as well as at the RCICC meetings, which all of the municipal leadership from leadership of each municipality attend. Going back, we've had multiple meetings with them going back 2 years. I was just gave an update, I believe, at the April meeting, and I'm on the agenda for the August meeting, and that specifically was discussed.
So I'm sorry, clarity for the county and also the users, or just for the users, the municipalities would have these reoccurring fees? Is everyone across the board?
So there are generalized costs associated with the system and the upgrades that are needed to function the system. Exactly how that will be built out, whether it is by municipality, the county, and that exact method has not been solidified yet. But it has been discussed that these are a very realistic possibility that there will be user fees associated with the end users of the radios.
Supervisor Wish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're talking about, between all of these resolutions, quite a bit of money, which is probably going to be partially funded by the taxpayer. My concerns are on all of these and have been since the beginning is the dollar amounts that you've come up with. What year was that based on? Was it based on costs this year, last year, the prior year? And with inflation still out there, any cost overruns, I'm assuming, are going to have to come, if it's beyond what you're allowing here, are going to come before the finance committee, correct?
Yeah, are you talking specifically about the radio project or all of the
All of
projects?
in general, but it includes this one, yeah.
Okay, the radio project, we received those numbers in April of this year. So, and the bid came back around 19 million and I added 4 million in for professional services, site improvement, contingency, essentially, to give it a healthy reserve. I don't want to have to come back before this body and ask for more money. That's a failure on our part to not anticipate, you know, increases to cost. I know that you, Supervisor Wish, have asked specifically about the Public Safety Center before, and I'll just reiterate, that came from a 2018 Master Use Plan study, which turned into a 2020 architect design study specifically for the patrol and 911 center that gave us the square footage. We took that square footage and applied it to like projects that have happened in the last year, specifically the village of Caledonia. There are some other counties, Waukesha County, Dane County, I believe. We've done a lot of research of local or of recent projects to figure out what that price per square footage is. I think that construction budget is 35 million and we're requesting 40 million so that there's a healthy contingency as there.
Any other questions? Supervisor Shakur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question. With this new public safety radio system, curious as far as the backup system goes. How, if something happens with that and we look at the air traffic and all that business, how will we be on the ground safe?
Yes, so in the design of the system, there's a primary site and there is a backup site, as well as from an operational standpoint, we have a primary dispatch center as we also have a backup dispatch center site. Again, having that redundancy in place.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none. This is a 2/3 majority vote. Oh, John, if you want to set us up.
First, we need, okay, there we go. All have voted. Motion carries unanimously.
Resolution 2024-24, Supervisor Trottier.
We're going to repeat, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're going to repeat this again. I'm calling up the Director of Finance, Gwen Zimmer, and Chief Deputy Jim Widener.
Yes, so again, this is a public safety building that we have been discussing since at least 2018, when the county hired venture architects to create a master use plan for the whole county in and of itself. It looked at the use of the patrol station, the law enforcement center, the human services building, the courthouse, public works. From that study, and it's important to note that it talked about the increased need for mental health, which is another agenda item for this body to consider, the building of a specific mental health building. We have been working towards over the last few years towards implementing that. And the reason why the public safety building project is before you tonight is it coincides exactly with the 911 radio system. We can do it separately, but it's not advisable. The current patrol station that we have is an older building, older infrastructure, older technology. It would be a lot easier and more efficient to put a new 911 radio system into a new building rather than retrofitting it into an older building.
Any questions? Supervisor Spencer.
I'll just speak briefly. I did ask to have a tour of this facility, which I did yesterday. And because I wasn't sure about the safety building, I understood the 911 needs, but I wasn't sure about the new safety building. And my tour definitely confirmed the need for a new facility. I won't go into it, but that's enough for.
All right, thank you. Any Supervisor Caprellian?
Just real briefly, with the design and construction, will it align with the duration of the implementing the new system? Would they be on the same timeline, or does it extend one out further?
Aligning these two projects is the goal. So we have had early on conversations with the selected vendor for the radio system, that we work that into the final agreement as we move forward with the Public Safety Center to really get those two projects into alignment so that it can be built out. And then when it goes live, it cuts over into the new facility.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Comments? This also is a 2/3 majority votes.
Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Resolution 2024-25. Supervisor Trottier.
Excuse me.
You look over there, you're gone.
Yeah, okay. Excuse me. Yeah, doggone you. Okay, this resolution 2024-25, I'm gonna call on Hope Otto and Gwen Zimmer to expound on this request of $23 million.
Before I kick it over to the Human Services Director, I just wanted to share a little bit about how we got to the cost of this. The full amount of the project is, the full build is $32 million. And as you know, the ARPA funds, the American Rescue Plan funds, needed to be fully obligated by the end of 2024 and fully spent by the end of 2026. This project fits exactly into the scope of what the federal government was trying to do with ARPA funds. And so in the 2024 budget, we finished obligating the remainder of that funds, about $14.4 million for this building. We already owned the land. It is across the street from the Human Services Building on Taylor Avenue at the old Branham Lumber site. That was purchased previously as potential for parking or expansion of that area. So the 14.4 million got us started with an RFP for the architect who have been hired and for the construction manager also hired. And we've been doing design work since the beginning of this year, basically. So this is asking for the remainder of the funds, the 23 million. It also includes 5 million for retrofitting and white boxing really the 4th floor of the Taylor Avenue Human Services Building, which is the current juvenile detention. We'll have to take out the cells themselves and probably move, departments, move staff around to make better use of that space because honestly, they're bursting at the seams right now. So that's how we got to the 23 million.
I really don't have a ton additional to offer than what Gwen had mentioned, other than all of the similar conversations that we've had regarding existing infrastructure eroding. I'm sure there's many supervisors here that can attest to the current environment being unacceptable for what we need and envision for mental health in our community. In terms of our most vulnerable residents and the way we want to treat them, this is not a current depiction of what we as a community want to represent in that space. We also have these one-time funds, as the finance director indicated, that were intended to use for this purpose. The other piece that wasn't mentioned is the opioid funds that is giving us the opportunity to use for a residential substance abuse treatment component that is really almost nowhere in existence in our entire state right now. So these are funds that would otherwise go to waste and not be able to serve people that are in great need in our community as a critical part of the arsenal to fight the opioid pandemic and the mental health challenges that we have.
Thank you. Let me make one comment because I would say almost 2 years ago or better, Jonathan, myself, Hope Otto, Michelle Goggins and staff, Corp Council started talking about how to help mental health. We had many meetings with the hospital in town, and Jonathan wanted this to be transformational. He wanted to use ARPA money for transformational purposes. Well, we couldn't come to a real agreement with that. And so Jonathan said, we'll just build our own. We've got $14 million. And as Hope alluded, it's the 10-bed transitional component that really makes this a different kind of location. So if there's any questions, Supervisor Trottier?
Yes, I have one last comment to make in regards to this. The ARPA funds, which were granted through the federal government, through our taxpayer money, were awarded our county $38 million approximately. And this mental health facility has been on Jonathan's mind for a long period of time. And he made the commitment to use 14 million of the 38 million for this facility that is going to be a jewel for southeastern Wisconsin. Let me tell you, there's nothing right now that will be able to service the southeastern Wisconsin individuals that's present. So this was a vision of his, and using that amount of money of 38 million is something that I will end up voting yes for.
Any other further comments? Supervisor Coleman? Oh, okay. Okay. Well, Supervisor Coleman says let's vote, so I call a question on this. Again, this is a 2/3 majority vote, so here we go.
All have voted. Motion carries unanimously.
All right. Resolution 2024-26, Supervisor Trotter.
Okay, I'm paying attention this time. Not that I haven't, I was just distracted, okay?
Do I have to split
Sorry.
you up over there?
Here we have a resolution that over a 4-year period will revitalize our marina. Very little has been done to the marina since the county took ownership of this marina. We will see a lot of money poured back into the community when this has been completed and during the construction of this marina. I do have the experts here. I'm going to ask Gwen to stand up, and then I do have the company that represents our county. We do have a third party that operates the marina for us. They are present here, and any questions that you may have, you can direct to them. Thank you.
Getting my stand goal.
You don't have to sit down yet.
I'm also gonna call on Corporation Counsel to jump in as I speak. So yes, the marina is owned by the county, but not operated by the county. I hire an excellent firm through RFP who knows what they're doing. They operate marinas worldwide, and they have completely turned that marina around. The marina was built before I was born and hasn't been really updated since then. So this is a very necessary upgrade for it. The first component of it, and I just want to make clear, I've heard some mumblings around of some of the supervisors. This is a phased project. It is 32.5 million, but it's not all in 1 year. There's no way that we could even gather the resources to mobilize to do that. The first phase of it is really addressing the underground fuel storage tanks. They are our responsibility. They're on our insurance. And the Department of Natural Resources says that we need to address them. And so that's the first part of it. And then I'm going to defer to F3 to jump in on the rest of it. The other thing I'd like to mention is we either own the marina and operate it or we don't. We cannot sell it. It has a land use restriction. So either we invest in this or we don't, and it goes away.
While they're getting set up, I just wanted to offer just a few brief remarks. Gwen aptly mentioned the fact that we insure those underground tanks. One thing that I want to highlight for the county board is those tanks are becoming nearly impossible to insure. And that if we don't act, and if we don't act very soon, we're going to be left with a major liability that we're not able to mitigate through an effective insurance coverage. Second thing that I want to mention before turning it over to John and Carrie, I'm not sure if they'll mention this on their own, but you've seen them over the years. You saw John and Carrie both a few weeks ago, and we heard about their many ventures across the world. And so having them here with us this evening deserves some form of recognition, particularly because I understand that John had some challenges in getting here. With the disruption to air travel that we've been reading about, and hopefully not too many of us have experienced personally, he has in his efforts to join us this evening. And so I was actually surprised, but really happy to see him in the audience tonight because I know his flight has been canceled multiple times. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it. I'm John Matheson with F3. And yes, it was a little difficult, but as I told Carrie, I was going to get here rickshaw, boat, plane, whatever I had to do for this very, very big day. We've been working on this for 8 years. Again, John Matheson, president and one of 2 owners of F3 Marina. We've been associated with the marina since 2013. And I know most of you have heard our presentation that we did some time ago. We're not going to go through that again. Just wanted to, again, renew some of the key points, and that is that not only is it physically in need of replacement, but operationally
what will be a result of the new marina is not just new infrastructure, new decking, new steel, and a better experience for boaters, but we're opening the marina up for the entire community with the new design. And by saying that, I mean that main dock running down the middle is truly a unique function. We have Edgewater Resources with us as well. Greg Waitkamp, who also runs all over the world. Jack Cox as well. We've worked with him for years. This is a pretty cool design that is seeing more and more, but you don't see it on the Great Lakes anywhere that I've seen, this type of design. It has this main pier running right down the middle. People aren't going to be blocked from walking on it. You can walk right down the middle of it and you'll be standing in the middle of the marina looking around, which is really a pretty cool thing. So, and that's a functional dock as well for transient boaters as well. So we're also going to have a dock that has a kayak launch, handicap kayak launch, personal watercraft, boat rentals, and a whole new dock that's set up specifically for charter fleet, which is a very, very important component for that marina. There's a lot of boat charters that come out of Racine, and we want to keep them happy, keep that functionality going, and we'll improve it. Carrie, do you have anything you want to add?
If you don't mind. I just want to remind everybody too, the marina was built with a 25-year life expectancy. We're almost on year 40. We've performed as much maintenance as we can and continue to do so as safety issues arise. However, the chain anchoring system is beyond repair. Truly, the marina is almost at a risk, which we're taking the safety of the boaters as well as the public and all that visit the property. Truly, it's something to worry about when they come to visit Reef Point Marina. We are a jewel on the lake. We are a gem. We are within walking distance of 50 restaurants, North Beach, museum. We need to truly treasure the marina that is in Racine, not only for the community, but for visiting boaters to spend money in the community and so forth. It's in dire need of repair, and moving forward is truly necessary, not only for the boating community, but for Racine as well in whole.
Any questions? Tom Pritzker, Supervisor Pritzker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I support this project. I like it a lot. One of the things that makes public-private partnerships like this successful is really the ongoing commitment and ongoing planning and long-term planning. So what kind of business plan or financial plan is in place so that this can be run in a self-sustaining way, so that you're not coming before the county board again in 5, 10, 15, 25 years as some of these structures and amenities, live out their useful life, right? I mean, the storage tanks for fuel are going to have to be replaced again. They should go right back on the list the day that they're replaced. Same with the electrical systems, the piers, the decking. So is there a plan like that so that, as you're building this out and setting up the amenities, can it be priced so that you're planning for these future capital improvements?
Well, that's a great question and a great point. We're looking at obviously taking a bond out that would have to be paid back for quite some time. And we are looking at and working with the financial advisors on putting a nest of money away per year. So at the end of its useful lifespan, we would then have that chunk of money to do what we're doing again and hopefully have it then in an account that we can just invest back into the property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Wish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you refresh us on the revenue generated over the next 4 years?
So we are working closely with the financial advisors on just the pro formas that we're looking at with the expected occupancy and the expenses associated with the different construction phases. The revenues would stay close to the same because we would never have to displace boaters. It just depends on the during construction, correct? So we're doing a 4-year phase out, not only for the bonding for the county purposes, but so we would never have to tell a boater to vacate the property. We want to withhold and maintain all of our occupancy. So the revenues associated with fuel for the restaurant, for transient revenue would not differ. It just depends on the payback for the bond and so forth for the construction. Thank you.
Supervisor Brandt. I'll get you, Gary.
I have a question about, are the individual slips, is the power to them going to be metered?
is one of my questions. And the follow-up side of that too is marinas, you know, kind of in the Lake Michigan Basin or the Great Lakes Basin that have been updated in the last 5 years. Are they all metered?
So it's a great question. Our market, we are right between Milwaukee and Chicago. A lot of the Chicago harbors are metered and further south, but we are right on that line where metering boats would be difficult. We are looking at having pedestals that have the capabilities to meter, but we may not put that in place immediately because it may deter some boaters to stay with us. But we're still looking at having that function available if needed. But right now, we're in a location that we would be the only ones within between Chicago and north that would meter electric. Thank you.
Supervisor Cole.
You guys were talking about having to remove the tanks.
Yes.
Is there a contingency if there is a leakage or something that's not found? Is there contingency enough that if you would hit contamination, that's built in already? And would that, or how would that be offset in the final price?
For the new tanks?
Or, I mean, is there, just for like the existing tanks, when we go to remove them, if you find contamination, are we gonna run into a big pollution hazard where this is gonna go way over budget by any chance?
So right now, we do have state inspectors that come in twice per year and perform their due diligence inspections and passes yearly. So right now, the tanks are secure. We're having issues with the insurability and we're in question continuously because they are out of date. Underground storage tanks are supposed to be replaced every 20, pushing 25, pushing 30 years. We're at year again, 37. So we are still doing everything we need to make sure we are safe, secure, and not contaminating the ground. So I would be very surprised if there was any contamination found. But there would be some money set aside for that, but I doubt you will find any because we are doing our due diligence.
Any other questions? All right. This is a 2/3 majority vote.
All have voted. Motion carries unanimously.
Resolution number 2024-27. Supervisor Trottier.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. I, at this point in time, going to ask our legal counsel, Michael Lansdorf, to review Resolution 2024-27-S, and then I'll make a couple of comments about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the resolution before you, and you have two, so I'll speak on those in just a moment. The original resolution that was before committee and that went for a first reading at our last meeting, at the last meeting, authorized $5 million, which would represent the county portion to go along with those dollars that have been raised. We heard public comment this evening referencing, I believe it was $8.3 million in pledged funds to go towards this project. So those two pots of money combined would go towards the construction of a single sheet of ice. And we put out an RFP. We conducted interviews just in the last week or so for the architectural and engineering portion of that to allow us to move forward. Now, this, unlike the other four projects that preceded, were often referred to by County Executive Jonathan Delagrave. Those other four were described frequently as needs. And this fifth project, the Racine County Ice Center, was described as more of a want, important, of course. And Jonathan spoke about the importance not only of this project, but about the importance of improving the recreational opportunities for our community, not just for the youth, but for economic development, for a host of reasons, public health, the wellness of our community, and why he was so passionate about improving these recreational opportunities and why he had supported and been part of really countless meetings with the RCI folks, the nonprofit that was created specifically for this purpose, and was supportive of moving forward. But notwithstanding that, he described it as a want. And so a lot has changed since this and the other measures were introduced before the board. We've had several county meetings and describing these and discussing them. And in the more recent weeks, I've been fielding more frequent calls from supervisors expressing some level of reticence, not on the merits of the ICE Center. In fact, I don't think I've heard a single complaint or concern that an ICE Center would not be a net positive for the community, a really significant net positive for the community. But there's been some level of reticence to Supervisor Wish's points earlier when talking about the other project, the realness of the numbers and of the budget that's we've been operating under to this point. The board will recall that about a year ago, the RCIC came before the county board and presented a feasibility analysis that had been done and some preliminary architectural designs. And you'll remember that those costs were, I believe, in the 18 to 21 or 23 million dollars. After that, we, along with the RCIC, met with other firms familiar with and well versed in designing successful ICE centers across the Midwest. And what we heard was that a lower budget amount, closer to the $12, $13 range, was feasible and was possible. But notwithstanding that, there is some level of question. And so as those concerns have come in, what we did was, in order to allow the project to move forward, in recognition of the many voices that have come before the county board, not just in the last 2 months, but over the course of the last year or so, expressing why this amenity is so important to the future of Racine County for people of all ages. So in order to move that forward, an S resolution has been created in working with Supervisor Trottier. And what that S resolution does that's different from the original resolution is that it authorizes a lesser dollar amount. It authorizes $200,000 versus the $5 million. That $200,000 would be sufficient funding in order to engage an architectural and engineering firm. Again, we've completed interviews. RCIC was included in those interviews, and we interviewed 3 entities. There have been several more that had submitted proposals, but we're very pleased with what we heard from the architectural firms interested in the project. That $200,000 would be enough to engage the most qualified firm as deemed by the scoring group. It would be enough money to undertake the design work, and that would include what's called a preliminary schematic design. That it would look at the sites that are under consideration, of course, Haven Park and Franksville, and also considering any other pad-ready site, looking at what the costs would be for a basic single sheet ice arena that would be sustainable for generations to come. We would be able to pay with that $200,000 for that sort of preliminary schematic design work to be done, so that we could come out of that with a much clearer picture of what the actual cost would be to construct this. And perhaps, and hopefully it's within what we identified as that original budget, but the possibility exists. And in recognition of the fact that this is more of a want than need of the other 4 capital projects, it's with that in mind that the S resolution originated, and we drafted that with that specifically in mind, so that we would be better positioned to authorize the project and additional capital funding, and to consider it even in the 2025 budget. So really just a few months from now. You'll note also that substitute resolution makes a point of emphasizing its continued support for the efforts of the RCIC. The fundraising group that has been so successful to this point has done tremendous work in tapping into this community desire and demand for this sort of a recreational amenity. So lauding their efforts in successfully raising such a significant amount of money. So if that S resolution were to go forward versus the original resolution that was authorizing the project in total and authorizing $5 million in funding, hopefully sending a message to the entire community that the board is supportive of continuing down this path. We just need a little bit more information before authorizing the full project. But this would only mean a matter of slowing down by a couple of months. We'd be making productive use of the time between now and the 2025 budget to further the process along. So if the board wishes to replace that prior resolution, and the same would follow with the bonding resolution that will be part of the 3/4 majority vote. And in the absence of any objections, then resolution number 2024-27 would be replaced with number 27S for action this evening. And in the event that there is objection to that course of action, then a motion to replace resolution number 2024-27 should be made to replace it with that 27S, and that would be in order. So
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second to replace resolution 2024-27 with 2024-27S. Questions? Supervisor Wish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, so I'm clear on this, that this is replacing 27. Okay, so we vote for this, 27 is put on hold, or is it gone?
it would be replaced by this
So
S
this is
substitute
replacing it.
resolution.
What happens to 27? That comes back before us again at some point?
No further action would be needed on that original resolution. Rather, as articulated in the substitute resolution, the expectation is that additional funding, the remainder of that 5 million, or perhaps even more, if additional funding is needed, that would be considered as part of the 2025 budget process.
So the $200,000 is an exploratory, basically, amount to see if it's worthwhile for the county to invest in the arena. Basically, is that what?
That's a fair way of looking at it, but it's beyond exploratory. It's allowing us to make progress towards the actual construction, should that be the pleasure of the board.
So for those people that may not be in favor of the ice arena to start with and decide to vote against it anyway, we're out $200,000.
Up to $200,000.
Granted. Thank you.
Supervisor Varant.
I'd like to, is there time now for some questions from the folks in the ice arena, or is it too late for this discussion right now?
Well, we're talking about with our staff. That would be who we would ask. So you can ask the question and see who we got here.
Well, my question kind of revolves around, I think there's a number of decision makers here with the ICE group. I think the recreational aspect of it is fantastic. I think the recreational aspect that we move forward on the marina tonight is fantastic. And we need a number of these recreational things to help improve potentially some of the mental health things and various things that we're challenged with. And I guess, I don't know if there's a way to potentially completely move forward and vote on the entire ICE scenario with the pledges that they've had, and potentially, if it's an amount not to exceed X, that the Racine ICE folks can pledge and offset that $200,000 cost. And I guess what I'm trying to say, not well, is if the Racine ICE folks would pledge and pay for this $200,000 study, and this does, and we can build it at a price not to exceed X, that we can move forward with this tonight and vote for it.
I'll try and respond to at least part of that. So if the funding was set aside for what you termed as a study, and that's I guess the first thing that I'll touch on is this would not be a study. This would be the actual engagement of an architectural team that has interest not only in designing or offering a preliminary schematic design, but has intentions and hopes to actually receive the engagement for the full project. So it's not necessarily a feasibility analysis or study, but rather it's a crucial part of any construction project, particularly something unique like this, and particularly when we're looking at sites like Franksville and Haven Park, where there's some soil concerns, there's some stormwater needs that would need to be included, there's some parking considerations, there is some traffic work that needs to be done. This $200,000 would allow us to move forward with that engagement, with the idea that upon completion of that, either the board approves in moving forward for the necessary construction costs combined with the funds raised by the RCIC, or opts to not move forward. Both resolutions could, I mean, there is a resolution that authorizes the $5 million before the board. We created the US resolution based on some of the feedback that we were getting from supervisors, where there was, again, not outright opposition to the project, but there was concern about getting too far into a project without, and signing contracts without a clear understanding and complete confidence that that is sufficient funding to move forward with the project and actually complete the construction and see the successful in the community.
If I could add, that was one of my concerns is, just like Supervisor Wish was talking about the 911 system, do we have enough money? And Supervisor Kolb, what happens if we have to do remediation on soils? There's enough money there. Is $13 million enough money to build an ice arena? This is how we find out, because the last thing anybody wants to do once they say we're going to do it is come back here and ask for $2, $3, $5 more million. And that's why I want to take this step first. I think this partnership is unbelievable. The ice rink, the ice association, and raised $8 million. That's unbelievable. And this, we get it right. That's what I want to do, is I want to get this right. Supervisor Secure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This ice arena is a small piece of the puzzle that will enhance and improve the quality of life in Racine County. We have something before us that we can start it and get it rolling. Just to say, this is a small part of tourism, and it has generated $525 million in total economic impact in 2023 in Racine County. And also, additionally, last year, Racine County Tourism supported 3,660 part-time jobs and full-time jobs across various sectors of the industry and generated $28.1 million in local tax revenue.
Supervisor Shakur, if I may interject, and I apologize for interrupting, but
No problem.
I believe that those figures that you're referencing are from the Marina resolution that are based on the findings of the tourism commission that's specific to marinas.
No, it's from Racine County, the Visitors Bureau.
Are you referencing that from a resolution?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just speaking on support of it.
Okay.
Why we need to do this.
All right. I apologize.
Okay. All right. As I was saying that, well, the Racine County's direct visitor spending increased 9% in 2022, bringing in $299 million to the county. And adding this to the puzzle is just going to make it more. It would be 300,000, 400,000, who knows? But we have to make a chance, not a chance. I think it's a good educated way to do this, and the way this S resolution is changing it over, that we can move forward. Because as you all know, I think, and I believe and know that wonderful Racine County is the best in the state and in the nation. And this is one more piece of the puzzle that's going to make us much, much better. So I would urge each and every county board supervisor to let's get this started. Thank you.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may, just to follow up on one other piece that Supervisor Durant brought up that I don't think we addressed, or something that I want to make completely clear for the board, is that it's very much a partnership between the county and the RCIC. And the RCIC folks bring in an enormous amount of expertise and familiarity with ice, whether it's hockey or figure skating or other recreational ice programs. And so they have been at and absolutely will continue to be at the table for major decisions about what the design looks like, how to operate this. But to be clear, the general framework of what we've been discussing is that this would be on county-owned land. This would be owned by the county. This similar to the Ives Grove Golf Course, to the Browns Lake Golf Course, to the marina, would be owned by the county, but that we would more likely than not engage another entity to actually operate it and operate it on our behalf and handle the programming of it. One of the concerns that has come about has been on that piece, and we're hopeful that over the course of the next few months, as we're getting a better picture of what the actual costs are, that we can simultaneously get a firmer grasp on what those operations will look like through the engagement of an outside entity. That's the expectation, but as the board is well aware, with the aquatic center that was funded almost entirely from the generous donation from the S.C. Johnson Company and was operated by a third party for the first few years. With 2 budgets ago, or the county ended up taking over the operations of that. And so those are the types of things that, with the benefit of an additional few months, we're hoping to get greater comfort and confidence in, is that there's a market out there for entities to operate this and operate it successfully on behalf of the county while meeting the needs of the community and ensuring that people from all parts of the county, from all economic backgrounds, can enjoy this.
Let's take Supervisor Pritzker first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, I like this project a lot. I appreciate all the work that everyone's done over the last several years to do this, and all the people that have come to several meetings over the last year that I've been involved, and all the work that RCIC has done. I like this resolution a lot better than the previous one because it makes me feel more comfortable that we're going to come up with a plan before we do this. As I mentioned on the last item, I think public-private partnerships are very much needed in government, and they can be very successful. And the successful ones have good initial plans and long-term plans. And the ones that fail are usually the ones that are only looking forward to the construction of the facility for the first time. And then after 5 or 10 years or 20 years, as the newness wears off and things start breaking down or amenities aren't competitive anymore, it starts to fall into disrepair. And then really no one wants anything to do with it, right? No one wants to pay to upgrade it and no one wants to run it. So, to be fair to everyone, I'll say that, the challenge I would have for RCIC in this partnership, it would be the same as I was mentioning for the marina, which is I would really like to see a business plan that addresses, I think, a lot of the questions that maybe some other supervisors have, or at least that I have. Like, I would like to see securing a hockey club or other clubs. So if we're going to build this facility, we have an entity that's going to be there. I'd like to see a more finalized design. I'm not an ice expert or a hockey family, but my kids have played other club sports, and I don't know if you need 2 sheets of ice to host tournaments. I don't know if when you host those tournaments, they're going to require that they're so-called stay-to-play tournaments. I mean, my daughter played in a ton of those and for basketball, and they require that you stay in certain hotels locally in order to be in the tournament at all. That would do a lot for economic development in Racine County. I'd like to see, finalized amenities. There's a list of things here, whether it's 1 sheet of ice or 2, whether there's other things beyond ice. I'd just like to see a more finalized design on that. And all that would basically lead into, also, is there an ongoing fundraising plan? I appreciate that. The $8 million is amazing. I don't think I've ever heard of an independent organization raising that much money. But it can't just stop once the facility's built, because there's always going to be needs. You're going to need more amenities to make it attractive to people. The things that people probably wanted 5 or 10 years ago aren't even that popular or needed anymore. And lastly, along with that is a long-term capital improvement or replacement plan. So just like the marina, I'd like to see this priced and built with the amenities and capabilities that it can sustain itself over time. So when you need to buy a new Zamboni machine or new ice refrigeration equipment that's very expensive, that the entity has it to pay for that rather than come back to the county, because I don't think the county is saying that we are, experts in running a facility like this or knowing what types of capital improvements need to be made on an ongoing basis.
Supervisor Spencer.
Thank you. So my question is kind of about timing. I'm wondering if, I guess, if after we get the schematic design done, and when might this come back as up for motion to pass? And another question would be that about the pledges. That you did an incredible job of getting pledges for this project, but will those pledges still be there if this is pushed down the road a bit? And what that bit would be? Are the pledges reliable to be there at that time? Or might they increase? Might you still work on fundraising more, given more time? I mean, I think it's amazing what you've collected. So
I can address certainly the first part, and then I can touch on the second. So with the timing, the way that we crafted our request for proposals for that architectural and engineering component, and based on the proposals received and our interviews with 3 of the top scoring entities, I have every confidence that by the time we present the 2025 proposed budget, included in that could be a capital project that would incorporate the preliminary schematic design, the costing that they've put together. And so we would be in position for the board to at least consider it as part of the 2025 budget process, that enough work would have been done if we make the engagement now to start that design work and that cost estimating work. On the realness of the pledges, I can't speak as to whether this slight delay, which would really represent a matter of a couple of months, would be a deciding factor in whether those pledges would evaporate. What I can say is this, and this is to the great credit of the RCIC, is that the way we had been structuring this under the original $5 million capital program was that there would be entry by the county and the RCIC into what's called an escrow agreement, where the group would put the money that has been raised into that escrow agreement. And so there would be proof that it exists, and that all that it requires is, on the county's part, achievement of certain milestones, the engagement of the architect, the engagement of a construction manager to complete this work. Upon achievement by the county of those benchmarks, and before we actually borrowed the $5 million, if that were to be the case moving forward, that we would have to have proof that that money exists. And there was a willingness by the RCIC to structure it that way. That suggests to me, and I've worked closely with our finance director, and we've worked closely with our bond counsel and financial advisors, that suggested that these are real pledges. This is more than just, somebody calls into public radio and says they're going to donate $25 and then forgets about it in hopes that they get a free t-shirt out of it. This is something very real, where people are willing to make these not only pledges, but actually write checks and have those go into the bank for the county's withdrawal upon achievement of those milestones. So the hope is that if they were that real to begin with, that it will continue through evidence not only of the county's support, lauding their efforts to this point, but through the engagement of the architectural team and the finalization of a preliminary schematic design and costing to allow us to make that decision with the 2025 budget.
thank you very much.
Supervisor Wish.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one comment and then a question. Resolution number 2024-32 then becomes obsolete tonight.
There is also a substitute resolution that reflects the lesser dollar amount of $200,000 for 32.
Okay. I grew up in Kenosha and I'm kind of a skeptic on the ice arena. I'm back from the days when they put one in and it failed. It's come back now. I realize that, but I haven't lived there, so I don't know how successful it is there. But I am somewhat of a skeptic on the taxpayers already that I've talked to that live in the Caledonia area are concerned about the increase in taxes that's going to happen from this and possibly something else coming down the road. Putting more money or putting money into something that is basically a sports, a want, not a need. The other items that we're voting on tonight, it's a lot of money and we've approved all of those. But there's also a benefit to everyone in the community on those things. So me being a skeptic, I guess, the S resolution might make me feel a little better once we get the results of that resolution. I guess that's where I stand. Thank you.
Supervisor Caprellian.
Thank you. I sure do appreciate the robust discussion that's been happening this evening on this agenda item. I don't know if this is just an empathetic response for the work that's been done by the RCIC, but I'm not sure about agreeing upon the S resolution, and I really was in favor of the original resolution. And again, maybe that's an empathetic response to understand the hard work. And I'm sure as they're listening and certain questions have come up by supervisors, they probably are housing the answers already, because I know a few of the committee members and I know they are so thorough. They are so very thorough. But, I do also believe that they understand when there is public dollars being used, and we have to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars. And if we are taking an approach that just, slows it down for a couple months, it's showing that we're investing still to move this project forward. It's just allowing for everyone who actually has to vote and have to be accountable on this from now and into the future, whether it does mirror maybe what happened that Supervisor Wish talked about in Kenosha. We have to be responsible and accountable for how we vote. But I'm sure this is probably a painful pill, as the RCIC committee is probably hearing this. They had such great traction and movement of support. And, hopefully they understand that, the discussions that are being had, I hear repeated from all the supervisors and even Corporation Counsel that this really still is a statement of support. And so, I'm still in a position here. I'm not sure where to go. I just want to let you know, all the RCIC committee members, I have room on my board for my nonprofit that I'm in charge of. I would love to have any of you on there with this type of fundraising and enthusiasm that they bring. Please reach out to me. That's very exciting to hear this. But and I think I saw thumbs up. I'm going to be holding you to that thumbs up. But I do appreciate the hard work, and again, the due diligence of RCIC. Again, they probably house some of the questions in which we need to know, but maybe we need them in a different form, just because we are accountable to the taxpayers. So, thank you.
Supervisor Cole.
Just making sure I understand. When you were talking about the $200,000, if we go ahead with this, you said we should be able to do the location. Being that I'm the supervisor for the Franksville Park, I do have a lot of people that are worried about if you build the place, you're going to lose something in the park, and they do want to kind of know. And when I'm telling them we don't even have a location yet, that it's not for sure in Franksville, there are a lot of people that are worried about traffic and some other things. And I know the input costs of whether it goes to Haven or Franksville are different. Will we be able to pin down a maintenance cost, an operating cost, and installation all from the 200,000 for sure? Or you said should be able to when you were talking about the design process?
From the authorized 200,000, if that's the decision that the board authorizes this evening, based on the proposals we've received, based on the work that our CIC and that the county has done on this, and based on the interviews that we conducted, those were questions that were asked. I have a high degree of confidence that we would have sufficient funding in order to put together cost estimates for that single sheet of ice, and for this building at each of the two county-owned sites that are listed in the resolution, Haven Park and Franksville. What we discussed was, in addition to that, that if there was a third site that didn't present some of the additional costs that may be accompanying the Franksville and Haven Park sites, a pad-ready site that you didn't need to, worry about geotechnical work, and you didn't need to worry about some of the connecting utilities like you would at some of these sites. So considering a third unknown site, getting the cost of that as well, then presenting that to the county board for consideration of those different options.
Any further questions, comments? Supervisor Rutkowski.
Sorry. I've talked to a lot of people in my district over the last 6 months, and of course, there are many people that are very excited about this, but most of the people that I've talked to were concerned about operating costs and said that there were more pressing needs in the community. So with this design, would this give us a clearer idea of how much it's going to cost to operate this? And I know that recently somebody made an additional donation of $500,000 to cover operating costs, but we don't know if that's for 2 years or 10 years. So will we have a better understanding of that with this design completed?
The goal is that with the benefit of that additional time, Lynn Boehm, who's in the audience here tonight, and county hired her a few years ago to kind of serve as the person who's overseeing the operations of the Pritchard Park Aquatic Center, the S.C. Johnson Aquatic Center at Pritchard Park, rather. Lynn brings with her that expertise on ice arenas as well, and the operation of ice arenas. So she's been involved in a lot of the recent planning meetings on this, and we've tasked her with kind of putting together what that operations plan will look like. And so the hope is that through the benefit of additional time, we'll come out of that, in addition to with greater certainty of what the cost will be to build this, with a firmer grasp of, one, the availability of third-party entities to operate this on our behalf and to do so successfully while meeting the needs of the community, but also having a better idea of what those costs are. We're not going into this blind. A lot of the work had already been done by our CIC on that front and through their feasibility analysis. And we have pro formas that are put together. So it's going to be revisiting some of those numbers, revisiting and gauging the interest by some of the community entities in operating the facility on our behalf. I think it would be premature to put out a request for proposals for the operations, given that the facility itself wouldn't be constructed for more than a year. And so I think we need to wait a little bit before we formalize anything, but that certainly shouldn't stand in the way of our continuing that due diligence. And I think we'd be in better position to address that very good question.
Any further questions? Supervisor Rutkowski. Supervisor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. From the start, I have been very enthusiastic about this whole idea. I think the citizens who've been involved have shown us that there's a lot of support. There's a lot of pluses. I think the S resolutions that are before us are a good way to proceed and to get a lot more answers. So I hope we can move forward with them.
Supervisor Spencer.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak on what Supervisor Rutkowski was saying. In my notes on Mr. Hertzberg's comment was the 500,000. The additional 500,000 was for startup, not for operating.
Yes, that there's a communication that I believe has been distributed to each of the board supervisors. It indicates that based on the RCI's representations, that additional $500,000, which I understand is in addition to the $8.3 million that's been pledged thus far, that would go specifically towards year one of operations of the facility, with the full expectation that you wouldn't need to tap into the entirety of that 500,000, but then we would create a non-lapsing account for this, an enterprise fund similar to what we do with the marina and with the Pritchard Park, so that those funds would not lapse. They'd continue towards future years to give additional security that as you're starting up and as you're looking at potential and likely losses in the first couple of years, that there's that additional cushion and soft landing to get through that. So it's a great step forward that the RCIC put forward this past week.
Supervisor Secure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question to our Chief Corporation Counselor. Question, on this 2024-27-S resolution, it's dated July 9th. Should it not be dated today? And if not, why? I mean, I meant to ask you that before.
Yeah, it's a technical issue, and I wrestled with that. Given that this is not an entirely new resolution, as I understand it, and Clerk Christensen can correct me if I'm wrong, it wouldn't necessitate an entirely new number. That would necessitate starting over at the beginning of the process. But rather, given that it's an S resolution, it can carry that same number, and with that, the same date that it was introduced and went through committee in first reading.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? So this is all roll call vote. Is this a majority vote to replace the
Majority vote, yes, to replace the resolution.
and then we go, okay.
The alternate vote.
So this is a roll call vote. It's a majority vote to replace resolution 2024-27 with resolution 2024-27S.
Motion carries to substitute resolution number 2024-27S.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve 2024-27S. Is there any further comments or questions? This is a 2/3 majority vote. And we'll set them up.
Motion to adopt resolution 2024-27S passes unanimously. Sorry.
Sorry, you're writing.
Now we move on to the 3/4 majority vote. That would be resolution number 2024-28 by Finance and Human Resources Committee and Executive Committee authorizing $23 million in general obligation bonds for 911 radio infrastructure projects. Resolution number 2024-29 by Finance and Human Resources Committee and Executive Committee authorizing $40 million in general obligation bonds for public safety building construction projects. Resolution number 2024-30 by Finance and Human Resources Committee and Executive Committee authorizing $23 million in general obligation bonds for mental health building construction and human services building renovation projects. Resolution number 2024-31 by Finance and Human Resources Committee and Executive Committee authorizing $32,500,000 in general obligation bonds for Reef Point Marina revitalization projects. And resolution number 2024-32 by Finance and Human Resources Committee and Executive Committee authorizing $5 million in general obligation bonds for indoor community ice arena projects.
There's a motion has been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Gwen, if you would like to explain what the difference between the first resolutions and the second resolutions for
Yes,
everybody.
I would love to do that. So the first resolutions was this body approving the actual project. The second part of the resolutions are approving the funding of those projects. These are all public purpose projects, so they're all eligible for bonding, general obligation debt. I can understand that it's a large dollar amount. Our total debt that the county has right now, I think, is 120 million. So if you're adding another 118 to 123, somewhere in that time, I understand the concern with that. I have worked with our financial advisors. Again, Kristen Hansen from PFM is here to explain that. I do want to let the board know that we sold our bonds today for the 2024 budget projects, about $11 million in tax exempt and $550,000 for taxable. We received very good rates back and a significant savings for the taxpayer. But more importantly, we affirmed our S&P rating at a AA. The highest is a AAA. We're just below that. I inferred with it, I can't go outright ask them, hey, will you downgrade us if we take on $120 million of debt? But I inferred from the feedback that they gave us that it is a consideration, the amount of debt that the municipality has, but it's not the only consideration in the debt rating. They have a calculator that they put together, a matrix where debt allowance versus the amount of debt that you have is a consideration, but more so it's about our financial health, the amount of our reserves, which is very strong, and the economic health of our community, both the personal income as well as commercial, manufacturer, that kind of stuff. So there is a potential that by over the next 4 years, by adding this amount of debt, it could affect our bond rating. But I think that all things are pointing in the direction that we will be safe at maintaining our AA rating. Again, these projects are eligible for public purpose, so they would potentially be on the mill rate. I have provided a lot of information about that. There are 2 projects that have revenue that could offset the debt service for it, including the marina increase in revenues for that, as well as the mental health project where we talked about the opioid funds. About a quarter of that debt service could be used for a quarter of the debt service could be used for opioid money to offset, because a quarter of the building would be used for the CBR of the community-based residential facility. And so the opioid funds could offset that as well. What you're authorizing tonight is for us to go into debt over the next 4 years for these projects.
Is there any questions?
I would just point out the one thing relative to the Ice Center that it is going to be up for the second consideration, just to remind the group that there is a substitute resolution that reflects and is consistent with what has already been authorized now, the $200,000 in
Yes.
borrow versus the $5.
And I will note that I confirm that with our bond counsel, that the 200,000 architectural design is an allowable public purpose general obligation project, even if the project were to not move forward. If the project were abandoned, the 200,000 is still allowable.
All righty. Any questions? Supervisor Pritzker.
Finance Director, do you know roughly what percentage of our debt capacity we're at now?
With or without the Foxconn debt. Without, it's about 6 to 7%. So by state statute, we're allowed to take 5% of the equalized value. It's about 6 or 7%. With the Foxconn debt, which has a dedicated revenue source, multiple ways from Foxconn itself, and then from the TID, and it's a 14%.
Okay. Do you know roughly where S&P wants us to be for a AAA rating? Like at what percentage of our debt capacity do they?
They did not give that to us. They did say that the biggest impact to our rating to get us above that would be for our residents to personally make more money.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, it's really outside of our control, and they recognize that. When you're looking at our area, I'm sorry if that was too blunt. If you're looking at, say, Waukesha County or some of our other area, just the economic difference is very drastic. Some of it is outside of our control, obviously. They did give me some steps that I will be bringing before probably the finance committee and inclusive of the budget, such as expanding our 3-year capital plan to a 5-year capital plan. That could put us over, including a long-term debt planning policy. That could put us over. So I will be working on that kind of stuff, but some of it is outside of our control.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Okay, so this is a 2 3/4 majority vote on resolutions 2024, 28, 29, 30, and 31.
And that motion carries.
Okay, so resolution 2024-32.
Mr. Chairman, so we don't have to vote, I would just ask unanimous consent that we substitute the S resolution for this.
All right. Do we have unanimous consent to, all right. All right. Okay, so we're gonna be opening discussions with 2024-27S. Motion 32S, excuse me, motion to approve anyone. All right. So is there any further questions on 2024-27S? 32S, excuse me. I'm looking at the other one. All right. Well, then I'm going to call the question. This is also a 3/4 majority vote. There you go.
And that also passes unanimously.
Okay, item number 12. Reconsiderations of resolutions and ordinances from previous meetings and or actions on vetoes.
We have no items to reconsider.
Item number 13, recommendations of and or notice of intent to reconsider resolutions and ordinances.
We have no items.
Communications from the county board chairman.
Report number 2024-23 by County Board Chairman making an appointment to the office of the Racine County Executive.
All right, any further discussion? Well, let me make one comment and make it short. I have to throw. I've known Tom Rownhouse for a long time. He's an icon in Waterford. And he was very, he's well respected in the community and the community as a whole. And he would be an excellent interim chairman to continue the good work of Jonathan. And I want to also say, I want to thank every one of you, pretty much, every one of you, all the staff. In the last month, everybody would say, anything I can do to help you. And that's what we did. And it's just amazing. From our staff to our board to county executives and other staff around the state. So with that, I make a recommendation to make Tom Rownhouse our next interim county executive. Okay, I'll call question. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? All right.
Can I have 2 minutes and 39 seconds to say something?
You can say anything you'd want, Mr. Interim. There you go.
And just one detail as Mr. Roundhouse is approaching the podium, just to clarify that he has tendered his resignation as a board supervisor as required by law, given that it's incompatible with the position, even under an appointment as county executive. That resignation has been tendered to the sheriff. It has been filed with the clerk's office. Thank you.
Okay, I have to say, I was gonna say, I'm honored and flattered to fill the void created with Jonathan Delagrave's loss. But I have to tell you, a great leader and a visionary giant. People deal with that differently, and tonight it really, really hit me because in order for me to be here, I lost a buddy. And I just, somehow that hit me tonight, so. So here's what we're gonna do. The only way I can get through this is I'm gonna pretend Jonathan's passing me the baton with unwavering trust, and I'm gonna look him in the eye and say, I won't do anything to jeopardize that trust and keep the train on the tracks. So thank you for letting me say that. Now, there's, in my 2 minutes and 39 seconds, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, and I'm going to tell you what we are going to do, okay? You know, we heard it over and over and over and over, Jonathan acclaim what a great Racine County is, #1 Racine County. Our county delivers more government, more services to more people at less cost than any other county in the state, and #2 is way behind. And that's only because of him and even the predecessors before that. But Jonathan's been here 8 years, and that distance between #1 and #2 just keeps going and going and going. And that's because of him. But because of him, he had this super talented cabinet, just super talented cabinet that would run through a brick wall for him. I mean, that's why Racine County's so good. We have great dedicated people, and the staff that the cabinet oversee and motivate and keep them motivated to keep our county where it is. I mean, that just doesn't happen. And it's all because of him. So I just want to share that, okay? Wait, I gotta think now. I get all nervous and forget. Okay, wait a second. So the second thing is, I got lots of notes, by the way. Here's, that means because of that, I won't get in the way because that's just a seamless operation, and I'm not gonna do that. But here's what I will do. It's been asked, losing our leader is horrible. I've been asked to kind of maybe be the comfort cushion for the staff and help them go through this emotional roller coaster and try to find peace and contentment at some point. And everybody does it differently. So my promise to you is I'll be here for you 24/7, 24/7. It doesn't matter. Call me anytime. Okay. And I want you to know that. And also, I'll have your back. If somebody from the outside wants to give you static or complain, you just give them my phone number and I'll take care of it. Okay. Okay. So here's what we are going to do. I don't know how, as a reference point, but in the last 2 or 3 weeks getting to this, people have approached me, Chairman Kramer, Vice Chairman Meyer, Finance Committee Chairman Trottier. As you know, Jonathan, he put together his vision, and in fact, we started on it tonight. But people have addressed us 5, and they said, come hell or high water, we're going to complete his mission. We're going to fulfill that. And I said, I mean, it was, everybody heard the same message, the 5 people. So, I mean, if that's not marching orders, nothing is. So, and us people that heard it, we're committed to that. And I'm so excited how we kicked it off tonight, that we're going to fulfill his mission. Okay. And I ask, we're also unique if not only we're number 1, I think as a county, supervisors, staff, and employees, I like to think we're a county family, okay? And in fact, I was at a meeting or something, I don't know, go to a lot of meetings. Somebody came up to me and said, I'm really impressed how your board is almost, or your staff or your county is thought of like in a family. And that was really, no, that's really a great compliment, hey? I mean, that doesn't happen everywhere. In fact, the person, now I remember, the person that told me that, probably the opposite's true in that county, okay? There's a lot of infighting and a lot of dissension and stuff like that. So be proud of that. I mean, that's a very strong statement. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna ask you to, mentally, we're all gonna hold hands, and we are gonna be committed to making sure Jonathan's mission is fulfilled. Okay, can we all agree on that? And you know what? Jonathan will love it, and he'll even smile down on us. So thank you, and I appreciate your support, and we'll go from there. Okay, bye.
All right. Item number 15, informational reports.
We have none on tonight's agenda.
Item number 16, miscellaneous business announcements and oral reports. I have one thing to comment on. Chief Deputy Widener took me down to the EOC, and I see the EOC managers here also. And they were running that full-time last week for the RNC. And while I've been on the other end calling into the EOC as a municipal government employee, that really is impressive. And I want to thank them for the hard work they did last week. Is there anybody else that have any comments or questions? Supervisor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to remind everybody that our great Racine County Fair starts tomorrow. Hope to see you all out there and coming out and enjoy the fair. Stop out and see us. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll have to arrange something like that.
Anybody else?
Chairman?
Yes, Supervisor Caprillion.
Thank you. I just want to acknowledge, I heard through the weight of Jonathan Delagrave's cabinet members, Hope Otto and Michael Lansdorf, how difficult it must have been to stand up here and say those words. I could hear the weight in your voice and the message that you had to be the voice for your staff. And you talked about family and how we are a family, and interim county executive Roan House solidify that message as well. And I think even more so to see his children here. So I just want to acknowledge that how difficult that must be. And we're all here together for you.
Thank you. I do have one more thing to share that was sitting here. It's come from the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office. It says, "Dear County Board Chairman Kramer, recently I learned of the passing of Racine County Executive Jonathan Delgrave. On behalf of the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office, please accept our condolences for your loss suffered by your office. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the staff and the Delgrave family. Sincerely, Benita Ball." And where Tom heard that about the county staff and the county board was yesterday we met with 7 or 8 county executives in a meeting. So, and they're also here to help Tom and, bounce them off. So with that, Q, there you go.